That one pill started pushing me in a direction I didn't know I was going to go in. It's like the Matrix with the red pill or the blue pill. Just flying back, message came through, sorry lads, not needed, war's over. We were so devastated. Although I was enjoying my surveillance work and everything else, I got into this club and people were just popping pills left, right and centre.
You wanted to be in the middle of the dance floor building boxes.
Do you want a pill? And I said, what are they? Because I had $30. There was no money in pills. What's the point? That's a lot of time. Get caught with 10,000 pills. It doesn't make sense.
Spaceship had landed and they'd gone, right, here's a rave scene. Woo! And everyone's just
What
gone,
is
wow.
this? I'll be vague. I don't want to teach you around how to repress coke.
They knock on the door and you look out the window and there's a police. You're like,
It's not even a knock. The door goes through. We're arresting you on conspiracy. Like, I went, I've been done for that, mate. Bristol said, no, we're doing you again. So I blew so much up. It's unreal.
The only reason I want to join the army is just so I can bloke you out.
When I got arrested, they actually said, we found a money machine in your office and we dare say it will be covered in. But I was either going to die, be successful almost, or get nicked. It would be very difficult to get you off. I said, but is there still a chance? He said, there is. I said, well, I'll go with that slim chance then.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast, and this episode is proudly brought to you by Betovo.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest. He wrote a book called Charlie 4 Kilo, and the name Charlie is what he was renowned for. He did a stint in the British Army, and then somehow he got involved with a Colombian cartel and was flooding the south of England with cocaine. So I want you all to put your hands together for Richard Jones.
Hi, sorry, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good to meet you.
You too, mate.
And,
you too.
you know, I know you've done a couple of podcasts previously.
Yep.
But I think this one is going to be the best one.
Standard, apart from mine.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about the ones you've done. Are you interviewing yourself on your one then?
We're working on it, yeah, slowly.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
XCon Chronicles, me and a couple of lads.
When have you actually launched it yet?
We've done about 3-4 episodes. Fourth one comes out tonight. We're finding our feet, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet, but we've got a long way to go.
But it's good though, isn't it? I mean, the fact that three ex-cons have got together.
Yeah, do you know what? We just rip the shit out of each other for about an hour and a half. We just thoroughly enjoy it.
See that? I've got to see this. But have you released one yet?
Yeah, we released the first one mid December.
Okay.
And then they come out about every 2 weeks. We're looking at doing one a week. Gonna do short episodes, half an hour or so.
Right, okay.
And then we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm gonna tune in and watch that then.
Yes. Mate,
but I've been introduced by a mutual friend. I've obviously seen various podcasts that you did talking about your story. And I just thought you'd be a great guest to have on. Because I don't know, there must be some, but there's not that many stories about soldiers leaving the army and getting wrapped up with Colombian drug cartels.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
So I just thought, what a great story. But I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey, you know, where you grew up, and, you know, what you did, you know, growing up.
Yeah, so I think, taking back rewind the clock a fair bit, back to 69 I was born.
Yeah.
Good year to be born in.
Yeah.
Me old man was in the police force. You know, so that was an interesting end. And
Did he give you a few tips how to avoid?
You know what? I learned how to be evasive from a young age, because when your dad's in the old bill, when you do anything which is anything remotely which is naughty, you learn to cover your tracks from a young age. So I learned how to be evasive from as old as I could understand what being or doing wrong was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a normal upbringing. I think I define it as normal. Nothing major. There's no stress, no trauma, no difficult times. The only thing that really, I think,
did you write to Jim will fix it?
I did.
Did he fix it for you or not?
No, I'm still waiting.
Oh, right, okay. He didn't fix it for me either. He didn't fix it for me.
I wanted to go in the.
You're a little bit older than me, but we're in the same thing. So we'd have grown up with these characters, which have all turned into monsters. You know.
I wanted to go. Me and my brother wrote to him, and we wanted to go in the James Bond's Lotus Esprit, the white one from Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
He didn't fix it.
We all wanted to do that.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. You actually want to go underwater as well.
Yeah, right, mate. Yeah. That's the bit I wanted to do. Never happened. He didn't fix it because he didn't mean sit on his lap, did it?
Right.
But there we go. That's probably another story.
So
I'll avoid that one, edit that out quickly. So we everything was going well. I think my mum and dad split when I was 14.
Yeah.
That's probably the first knock I really had in my life. Not blaming them. These things happen, don't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, your parents find out that it's not working out for them, and the job that my dad had in the police at the time, in the mid 80s, he was working for the Flying Squad, the old Sweeney, you know, in the old series that was on in the 70s. He was doing that job when the series was on. So a lot of influence. He lived a presumably very violent lifestyle as the copper on the front end. And it really was like he was coming in battered and bruised all the time, nose across his face. You know, he dealt with a lot. So I think living with him was quite difficult.
Yeah.
And I think he was more now in reflection with my understanding of trauma. I think he was clearly suffering with quite severe PTSD. So eating the drink. He was never a violent man to my mum, but I think...
You know what's weird though? You know, you was talking about the hitting the drink. My dad was the same, hitting the drink.
Yeah.
But loads of people that were late 60s throughout the 70s, for whatever reason, I think drinking was a big thing then. I mean, it wasn't about drugs. No. And I remember back in the day, you could go to the pub and get pissed at your head and drive home. And if you got pulled over, the police would say, you've been drinking, drive slowly because you're going to cause an accident. There was none of this sort of breathalyzing and arresting you. It was just like, don't do it again, silly.
Yeah, and that was exactly the problem I had, because my dad used to take me and my brother to the police club on a Friday night. And every police station would have a club upstairs, skittle alley, snooker tables, and a bar. And they would get assholed. And we'd all leave it at 10:30. They'd all be staggering down the stairs. They'd get in their cars. They'd drive out to the police station. And you think, well, clearly this is acceptable behaviour then. So I've got this kind of really warped perception of what's right and wrong. My dad is upholding the law, yet he's constantly breaking it all the time. How does that work? So it's stuck in there. So mum and dad split up. In life, I kind of went off the rails a little bit because dad looked after me and my brother. Whilst working really hard, he did a cracking job. He did his best, and it wasn't really working out for me. I wasn't really academically. I didn't want to go in that direction. I wasn't really back in the 80s. What do you do when you leave school? If you're a bloke, you're going to be a bricklayer, plasterer, and that's about it. If you're a girl, you're going to be home economics, or you're going to go sewing or be a mum, and that was pretty much all you were given.
Home economics was the posh word of cooking, wasn't it?
Cooking and cooking. Was it? Yeah, just basically cooking, wasn't it? Yeah. Called it that because you don't want to get sort of ridiculed by the lads.
What are you doing at school? I'm cooking. It doesn't sound as good as home
economics. Yeah, I mean, economic in the home. Yeah. I was quite a good cook as well.
Yeah. What was your speciality?
What, cooking? Yeah. Do you know what? Now I'm really into sort of like, I've done a fair few different catering jobs before joining the forces. Yeah. And I'm pretty good around the kitchen. So I can pretty much turn myself to anything. But back then, younger, cheese on toast, mate.
Cheese on toast with tomato sauce. It's always a winner.
Yeah.
My mum used to do this amazing dish called double deckers. And I don't know if you ever had a double decker.
I mean, I've eaten the bar double decker.
No. So a double decker was the bread, the beans, the cheese, the bacon, all stacked up, all melted.
It's right till you said beans.
Oh, you're not beans.
Thing. Do you know what? I cannot have. I love beans. Can't have beans touching my other food.
Really?
That's weird.
So you're OCD around beans?
Just beans. Nothing else but just beans. And do you know where I think it comes from? When I was younger, when my nan used to look after us, again, probably because my mum was, wasn't around at that time, is she would make us some food, like chips, egg and beans normally. And I wouldn't want to eat it because I'm not hungry. Eat it, not hungry. Eat it, I'm not hungry. Right around the back head, eat your food, and it'd be cold. And I'd have this remembering the fact these beans were freezing cold and my chips were cold, tasted of bean juice. And I think that has twisted my mind, my whole thing about beans.
Cold beans and cold bean juice, it's not the same.
It's not working for me, mate. It needs to. But so from now on, I've literally given food back to breakfast. I said I want the beans and a ramekin next to it. You posh twat. That's me. So yeah, my journey was a bit.
Rich, I'm going to call you the bean man now, don't you?
I've got a head like a bean, haven't I? Baked bean. What's that thing? Was that skinheads on a raft, isn't it? So I kind of bounced around. I started bunking off school when I was 15. Failed all my exams. Well, didn't turn up. That's probably why I failed. And I think I was struggling. I was going off the rails at a young age. I was working in a shop at the time called Hero Martial Arts. It was selling, back in 87, selling judo suits. And back then you could buy throwing stars and that over the counter. Nunchucks, practice ones made out of foam and real ones made out of wood.
Butterfly knives, the whole
thing. Butterfly knives, tantos, you name it, the whole lot. And we were messing around with those. We were robbing those from the warehouse and selling those when we were younger. It's sort of 17 years old. So I was already kind of like...
You naughty boy. What would your father say?
He would probably have told me right off. He would have been very happy. But he taught me to be evasive from a young age, so I never got caught. Yeah. So in the end, I just got sacked off with just doing random jobs. Yeah. Literally, it was pointless things, and I thought I need more than that. And the kind of I think the catalyst was I was bunking off on this job. I wasn't happy doing it. I wasn't paying any housekeeping towards my dad.
Yeah.
He was getting a bit pissed off. You got to sort yourself out, Rich. You got to get a job. You got to do something. And in the end, I thought, I got to join the army. And what I did was, ironically, 2 years before that, in the 16, I applied for the Marines. Yeah. And I applied because I just watched Rambo, First Blood. I thought, that's great.
I want to get one of them things tied around my head.
Tied around my head. I actually had the same. I had hair then. I had loads of dark hair. I thought I actually could pull off.
You had a little bit of Rambo about you.
A bit of Rambo about it, mate. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to go in the Marines. So I went through the application process. They f***ed me off pretty quickly. You're too young. You're not prepared. Come back in a couple of years. So I bided my time for 2 years. And I went to join again. And my dad said, go into the army. It's a little bit more realistic with your current physical state. I hadn't done any fucking training whatsoever. He said, go in the army and you'll probably do better off. So I went to apply for the army back in 87. And within about 4 months, I'm off to basic training. I'm like April, beginning of May, 88, I'm off to basic up in Catterick. That was it. I was on that. I just got on this train, which I couldn't get off then because part of my plan was I didn't really want to go in. I thought let's go basic and just balls it up and just get booted out. And then someone said to me, I think it was the weekend before I went, I was on the piss. Everyone's like a bit of a goodbye party in a local club. And dance music was just coming out. Like literally has things like Farley, Jack Master Funk had just come out and S Express. Yeah. House music was just arriving. I thought, this is interesting. I'll just disappear for the army. So, excuse me, we're having this leaving doing. This girl said to me, you ain't got it in you. So I fucking have. And that one thing she said to me gave me enough determination to make sure that no matter what happens, how difficult is whatever I come across, I will not fail because I'm not going to give her the satisfaction because I didn't really like her very much. And I got the basic, and that was it. A whole different world opened up.
Please tell me you dated her and no?
No. It was
I thought that was like thrown down a gauntlet, and then you come back, and then she was like, "Oh my god!"
No, she was a right moose. Oh, right. She wasn't my cup of tea. I think that's why I went for it even more. I thought, hang on a minute, I'm going to do this. Right. So no, in fact, ironically, when I came back on my first leave, she said, "Oh, well done, Rich. I had a funny feeling you would have probably done it." She might have just said it to encourage me because I was quite defeatist about the whole process. Yeah. But yeah, I got into basic and it was a baptism of fire. Back in the 80s when the DS staff were allowed to punch you, if you're not
those are the good old days.
Good old dig in the ribs, head or gut. Do I have a choice here? So he stood to attention. It's usually the PT staff. They're a bit reckless.
Didn't you want to give them one back?
No, mate. Because these were all seen, they were always higher ranked than you. So there was a lance. Back then, a lance corporal would be like PT staff. Would be troopers, or in the armored corps or the tank regiment, you'd be a trooper. So these are lance corporals. And if you hit someone who's a senior rank to you, you're down the guard room. You're in the shit. You're in a lot of trouble.
I thought that might have been a quick way to get out if you don't want to get out.
There was that to it, yeah. I didn't want to get out there.
Not that I'm advising you hitting anybody.
Yeah. Let's not condone violence. But yeah, that it does happen. Don't get me wrong. People do chin their superiors. They do find themselves down in Colchester or the guard room pretty quickly. But no, I just jumped on and I hated basic, but I found something I didn't have. I sort of bonded with the lads. I found something called camaraderie, which I'd never really experienced before. And I found it, thought, this is all right, because the way they train you, they just sort of break you down to nothing. There's nothing left of you, and then they build you up again. And you come back as a group, as a collective, and then you're like part of this machine then. You're just a cog. But it's something I quite enjoyed. And then I got to my unit based in Germany, because back in the 80s, it was all in Germany. And a lot of us over there. So I got to my unit in September 1988, the Royal Tank Regiment, the third one. And that's when the real problems start, because initiations getting to unit is like, it's just like hard going. Lots of bullying, lots of initiations, which I would call now probably more on the line of something like, giving you a good beating on a daily basis, just to see what you can take. Right. Just to see, can you take a dig? Because when we go out together, when we're all working together, we're doing what we do, although as tankers, we're not on the ground, they still want to know that they can trust you, that you're not going to break you, that they're that person that they can rely on. So it was a hard year. The first year in the unit was really, really hard. But once you've been there a year, a few other people arrived, sort of like focus on there. Yeah. It's it's your turn to give them a load of shit as well. Shit rolls downhill. So it was, after about the first year in the forces, it was like, I'm enjoying this now. I'm a tank gunner. I'm getting to shoot loads of rounds. I'm firing a big gun.
Did you actually get to blow any shit up?
I blew so much shit up, it's unreal.
See, that's the only reason I want to join the army, just so I can blow shit up.
We used to, I mean, on exercise, I served in a time when it was relatively peaceful, but we used to do ranges often in tanks. You've got to hone your skills. So we go down and firing the Challenger tank, the 120mm tank, is just unbelievable, mate. These rounds are just so fast. They just lift the lid off the turret in the front of you and firing it's called the coax, the 7.62 machine gun. It's just unreal. I mean, the first time I fired that thing on the ground, you do a ground mounted version where you just like sat like that, led down, and then you got your sleeves of your overalls, which we wear as tankies, we wear overalls, quite loose. Firing this gun like that, and the hot brass and links are being expended from the other side, and they're going down my sleeve, and I'm getting hot brass burning. It's just down on target. I'm shooting this thing like that, like a nutter. This thing's dragging me along the floor. I'm very slight at 18 years old. This thing's literally pulling me along the floor. Unreal. But yeah, you blow loads of shit up, mate. Loads of shit. Used to bring stuff back on leave all the time. Shouldn't have done. Things called thunder flashes. Anyone that's served will know what a thunder flash is. It's basically a simulated grenade, big off firework. And it's got a handle on it for a reason, because if it goes off on your hand, it will remove your hand.
So did you sort of have that, like when you was on home leave, trick or treating, when you put it through people's letterboxes?
These things will literally decimate a house. We did one.
Oh no! So it wasn't like a bang. It was an actual explosive.
I mean, how can I describe it? If we let it off in here, you would lose anything made of glass.
Wow!
It would. We set one off in our barracks. We had corridors. There was on like one floor, and the corridors went all the way down. And we had a night called Canberra Night, which is our battle honour celebration, 20th of November every year. And it's one night a year we can go absolutely fucking mental and not get in trouble for it. So we used to get thunder flashes, and guys taped yogurts to it. I don't know why they bothered with yogurts, because it would just send burnt yogurt everywhere. Chucked it in the corridor. We never done one indoors before. It went off, and every light fitting all the way down just popped all the way down. Absolutely unreal. We used to put these things in the ground. You get these big heavy wooden posts in the ground for parking. Yank one of those out, put it in the ground, put the post back in, and send that 20 feet up in the air.
Wow.
That's the sort of power you're looking at. So yeah, these things are mental. Absolutely unreal. Great for fishing as well.
Yeah.
Fill the handle full of mud, chuck it in the lake, it sinks to the bottom, goes off, and all the fish float to the top. Job done.
But they're dead though, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's fun. It was fun at the time.
And did you take anything else home, or was it mainly just thunder flashes?
Mainly thundies. It was pyrotechnics. That was what we did. I mean, things like rounds and bullets and that. We get called buckshot rounds. They're called spares, because if you lose everything is accountable when you do ranges. Like, you make a declaration at the end of each round. You stand there. Someone comes around, the guy in charge of the ranges. You stamp your foot. So I have no live rounds or ammunition or empty cases on me, or something like that. Which means you're telling them, you're making a declaration saying, I'm not stealing anything. And we've always got spare rounds tucked in our pocket. They don't search you. They just take you on face value that you're being honest with them. Because if you're on a guard duty and you get issued rounds, you might get issued 10 rounds. If you lose one, not that you should, but you do fuck around with your gun a little bit. Should you lose a round, that's a month's wages. You'll get the charge. Yes, you count them back in at the end of each guard session. So if you get like that, get to 9, there's one missing, you think, fucking hell, who's got a buckshot round? And they will sell a buckshot round back then in Deutschmarks before the euro came out. Would be worth about 100 Deutschmarks. It's about 30 quid. Yeah. So they're worth their weight in gold. Yeah. We never bought ammunition back then. No.
Right. But you had a few just in case you needed to. You lost one.
Definitely keep spares. You know who's got the spares.
Yeah.
But it was army days were good. We did Northern Ireland in 1990 when it was a bit lively. Right. Went over to Armagh, did the Bandit Country.
What was that like?
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, because as tankies, I joined up not thinking I was going to go anywhere. I was going to sit in and get in a naff and just get pissed all the time, which is pretty much what it was. Downtown fighting, in a naff getting pissed, and just cleaning your guns and servicing your tank. And they saw you going to Northern Ireland in 1990. I thought, what, taking the tank service? I said, no, you're going to dismount, retrain as infantry. Otherwise, get your fitness back at the games. We're all fat and lazy as tankies. Get your fitness back together and just go over and patrol the streets and the it's known as a Bandit Country, the rural area of Armagh or South Armagh. And we loved it, mate. Got over there in June or July 1990. A couple of IEDs went off, which clearly made me wake up and think, this is fucking real here.
I could actually get taken out, yeah.
We didn't lose anyone, but we were close. We had one go off. It's called the Tassa Road bomb in October and November 1990. And a bomb had gone off, or an IED had gone off, taken out a car. Nobody died. I think it was a close call. We were called out. We're the closest unit to that area. So the helicopters came in, picked us up. We flew out to the area. We had to sort of cordon off the area. So basically what you do when you land in, say the bomb's gone off here, we would land pretty close to where the crater is, and we would satellite out sort of teams of 4 and across your troop or your unit, And what you're looking for is signs of explosives, signs of command wires, firing points, any evidence which would show this is where the bomb went off. Then you get the team in to do their forensics. So we've landed. We got there pretty sharpish, probably within an hour, which is pretty good response time. And we're satelliting out, and we sort of moving slowly away from where the first device had gone off. We got to the top of this hill, massive fucking explosion. Look around, another one had gone off. A secondary device had been planned for us.
Wow.
And it was just somewhere else. What they'd done is the guys that had set it off, won't make assumptions, but it's probably something with the IRA. The guys that had planned it, they knew our response time. They thought, well, when they come out, they're going to be around about an hour and a half to get out here, give or take. We got there within the hour. So luckily, we'd passed the point of where the device was, and we continued on our way.
Otherwise, you might not be here to tell the tale.
If we'd been half an hour slower,
Wow.
it would have been it wouldn't have been here. Yeah. So then we had to spend 3 fucking days in a trench, securing the area in the middle of, like, say, end of October, November, freezing cold. But it was active service for me. I thought, this is it. I felt alive. I felt so close to death. I actually felt like I was alive for a change. I enjoyed it. But the kick in the bollocks then was back in the 1990, the Gulf War kicked off, the first one. Now, we're told that you guys, when you finish here in January, you're going out to the Gulf and get in there. We're going to go to the Gulf. We're going to get to do tank warfare. Guess what it's about? Liberation of Kuwait. So we couldn't wait. We were set for that. So we finished Ireland in January. Back home, bit of leave, a bit of rest. Back over to Germany again. Straight back out to Lulworth and Bovington to train up on the tanks, because our tanks are now sat in the Gulf waiting for us. They've been shipped out a month, 2 months prior to that. Yeah. Painted up yellow, nice sandy colour, not green and black like they were in Germany. But this is it. We're going to war, lads. This is going to be amazing. Finished our training for the week of just getting the competency back up on the guns and the gunnery systems. Just flying back, message came through. Sorry, lads, not needed. War's over. Oh, you're kidding me. We were wounded, mate. We were so devastated.
How long did you actually stay in the army for?
7.5 years.
And when I take it when you was in the army, you didn't really get in any trouble. You was well behaved.
Never got caught. So we were always fucking about. And the thing was, peacetime soldiers. And
tell us about all the naughty shit.
Oh, do you know what things we were doing? It was just stupidness. We were starting to get in 93, 94. We were starting to dabble with. We had a few smokers, because around about that time was decriminalised in Germany.
Oh, really?
So right. It was people like over there, sort of like it was becoming readily available. So we knew some lads within our unit were tempted. Now all my mates back in Civvy Street, they were smoking. They were smoking pot at this stage. I wasn't interested. Never smoked. I wasn't really that bothered by it. But it's beginning to happen within certain circles, and I was kind of getting surrounded by this stuff. So it's just there happening, and so things we used to do over there, but as well as some of us engaging in illegal drug activities, which maybe come on to that in a little while, we used to go out robbing cars. We used to get pissed up at a squadron do. I mean, one guy particularly, we used to walk out of the camp, an arsehole, up into the local German town for no reason. We didn't want to gain from it. We just wanted to we like the element of risk, because we missed out on going to the Gulf. We've been risking our lives for 6 months in Northern Ireland. We just needed that fix. We used to go out and we didn't ever damage cars. Germans are quite a trusting bunch. They used to someone leave their cars unlocked, checking doors all the time. And what we found was over there, they do on-the-spot fines, same as in most of Europe. Yeah. Some Germans would keep a little wallet on their sun visor of their car, pop it down in it. It's normally like a 100 Deutschmark note or 50D note. And that would be like, oh, I love that, that's nice. So we then we've been out of that camp on occasions, me and this one chap, walked out, and we come back in riding on a bike with a parcel shove under the arm with a stereo and a money full of Deutschmarks, and the gate lift the gate. Yeah, don't worry, lads, just ignore us. And they used to let it go, because if all they're just entertaining themselves, aren't they? Yeah. Nothing gets reported. But again, you think it's kind of lawless. You're under military law, so things that you get done for in Civvy Street, like knocking someone out in front of everyone, just let them sort it out. So kind of like my whole sort of perception of what's right and wrong from being a young age to being in the forces was a little bit skewed at best.
And did you when you was in the army, did you actually go out raving? Because obviously the rave scene was big.
Yeah, so this is, now I remember quite fondly going on leave, and I used to love being on leave. I hated German nightlife because there really wasn't one that I can recall. I loved the British nightlife. I go back to a club. And at this point in, let's say 93, 94, it was coming alive, wasn't it? It was really coming from the fields and the warehouses. We come down, drop the back of a truck open. And it was coming into the clubs, wasn't it? You know the score. And I was beginning to things like Acid House coming out in 89, 90, and then all the other things. Well, I quite like this because it's easy to dance to, and I'm beginning to enjoy the music. So I was always known as a person in our regiment that always had they used to call it that shit music because they're all into like.
You was the rave soldier.
I was the rave soldier, man. I was the only one who really had the mad, stupid system in my car at the time. I think that the system cost more than the car. I had a Mark 5 Cortina with like $3 grand worth of stereo equipment in it.
Rise of the Rave Soldier.
Yeah. That's the next one. That's film number 20. So we was enjoying going on leave. And what I found is in 93, the lads I knew on leave, my civilian friends, were beginning to get involved in taking a little bit of whiz. I thought, what's this all about? And so we're just doing a bit of whiz now and again. I thought, not really interested in that. So I fucked off back to Germany, went to do a bit of stuff with the UN, mid-93 back in the 93 to early, sort of like mid-94. And during that 6 months while I was away in the UN, having a really good time in Ayia Napa, generally we're meant to be UN, but most of it was on the piss and on the square in Napa. That's a whole different story.
Good times.
Yeah, we did a rota. We did a shift where we were known as what's known as a force reserve. Sounds really funky, doesn't it? And basically what it was a multi-contingency. Now, the way that Cyprus is broken, you've got the Turkish half and the Greek Cypriot half.
Yeah.
Then you've got the bit in the middle, the buffer zone. And we used to control the buffer zone. Now, back then in 93, 94, you had 3 sectors. You probably still have 1, 2, and 3. Sector 1 was Argentinian. Sector 2 was British. Sector 3 was Austrian. Argies and Brits. We got a surprising amount. Now, Force Reserve was the only, call it troop or squadron, of mixed contingency. So we had Argentinians, Austrians, and Brits working together. It went well. It worked really well. And what we found was the rota they're on was like a 9-day rota. 3 days on the gate, which is hard graft, 12-hour shift on and off. Shit. 3 days on patrol, which is amazing. We used to have these Pajeros, that's the European version of a Shogun. Soft top, white UN, roof down, just patrolling up and down the buffer zone. Great, getting the suntan, enjoying yourself. And then 3 days R&R, straight down to Limassol or Ayia Napa. And it was really taxing trying to not lose my career by making the right choices, what I should do. And amount of times I got confined to barracks, gated, found to sleep on the gate because I'd been driven back from Ayia Napa, absolutely fucking asshole because I've been on the piss for 5 days, got back and found I'm on duty within like half an hour on the gate, Rich. So yeah, Napa in Cyprus was amazing. We got back from there in just clear my throat there. So got back from there in June 1994. Got off the plane in Germany. Looked around, I thought, it's raining. I've been on the island of love for 6 months, having a great time. I thought, I don't like this. So we got back, went on leave, met a girl. Which you do. It happens. You meet someone. It's happened before. Fell in love very quickly, as you do when you're a squaddy and you've read I'm 24 at the time. Come back to Germany after that leave, and I thought to myself, do you know what? Fuck this. And I got my first stripe. I was doing well in promotion. But what happened is in 89, the wall came down. Everything changed with the forces. In a very short space of time, everything started changing really quickly. And I looked at where the army was going, where my life was going, where I was. And I thought, do you know what? I'm 24. I've done 7.5 years. I'm looking at years before I get my next job because of the way the army's working at the minute. Everyone knows taking drugs. Everyone back in England is getting off their tits. And
was all the soldiers doing it as well?
Only a few, but they got a thing called compulsory drug testing, like CDT.
And that was even that.
It came in about 93,
right?
92, 93. It came in when I was there, and that was like a thing. Because I was dabbling on leave, when I come back on my leave from Cyprus, I took a gram of speed, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was like, wow, it's amazing. I thought I was having a good night, and I didn't realize I was off my tits for like 6 hours. And I thought it was just the euphoria was because I was back home. It was the drug. I didn't realize that at the time. It took a while to realize what this was all about. So I found something. I thought, I really like this, but if I keep doing this while I'm in the army, I'm gonna get booted out.
Yeah.
So I weighed up everything. I looked at this girl I'd met. I looked at the slowdown in the career, and I thought the fact that Germany was shit. I thought, fuck, I'm getting out. So I signed off. Gave yourself a year's notice, signed off, and that was it. So that year from mid 94 until sort of mid 95, it's designed for a settlement. It wasn't. They give you you go to an office and they say, right, what do you want to do? They work out how long you've been in.
I want to be an astronaut.
I want to be a drug dealer. I think the weird thing was at that time, Pulp Fiction came
Did you
out.
say that?
I did a fancy dress as a drug dealer. I was getting into. I had long hair at the time. I grew my hair long. I tied it back under my berry.
What dealer did you dress up as?
I want to say a huge thanks to our sponsors, Fragrance Dubois. Now, for those of you that don't know about Fragrance Dubois, where have you been? It is one of the leading luxury fragrances, only available in Harrods, Selfridges and Neiman Marcus in New York. Every time I film an episode of the Criminal Connection podcast, every guest I've had, I've always said the same thing. Cool, Terry, that smells nice, what's that? And I say, it's Fragrance Dubois. And they go, what's that? And I'll give them a link, I'll give them 10% off, and they buy a bottle. So make sure you get involved. For all the Criminal Connection podcast crew, we've got a special discount for you. 10% off. All you need to do when you click on the link below and choose your luxury fragrance is to put in CCPOD10 for the 10% discount. Just click on the link below to discover your signature scent today.
I went actually as Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction because that was out at the time, and that was the one which kind of influenced me a little bit. And I went to a fancy dress, the called a Squadron Do, and we all went to different things. And my boss said, "What do you come as?" So I come as a drug dealer. And I had in my bag two.
But that went down.
He looked at me. That sounds about right. 2 little bags. One bag of sugar. One bag of. I've just got some grass to put in. So that's my drugs. You want to buy anything? I didn't even know that's the route I was going to take when I came out. So I got out, and the resettlement I did, I went into close protection. Bodyguard work surveillance. So by this time, the old man left the police. He'd graduated to the high profile where he's working for Special Branch, MI5, counterterrorism. He'd left the police for his own reasons, and he was working in surveillance, and he got me a job with him. So when I came out, I did some BG work, working with Top Guard, doing some of the venues. I did Oasis at Nebworth. We did a lot of stuff, and I think the close protection that I was going to go into was going to be my new direction, because I wanted to be in England. I didn't want to be in Germany anymore. Yeah. And so I left. I came out round about, I think it's about May 1995. I walked out of the army. And I got back to Bristol, and that was it. And I sort of like, right, okay, what am I going to do? And I was looking at CP work and surveillance, and basically what I found was I got a job on the door because someone I knew a guy that run what's it called now? Door Safe, I think it was. But someone I knew, it's a friend of the family, so we get your job on the door, no problem. With your background in the force and your new CP trainers, we're trained by SBS, so the stuff they taught was really good kit. So I did a bit of door for about 3 months, but I prefer being in the club, not on the outside of the club. Yeah. Because what was going on in the club was much more appealing to me. So I finished my shift on the bar that I was working on, and I'd literally leg it to the local club, go in there, and although I was enjoying my surveillance work and everything else, I got into this club and people were just popping pills left, right and centre.
And you wanted to be in the middle of the dance floor building boxes.
Big fish, little fish, big box, little box.
What was it? Big fish, little fish? No, big fish, little fish, cardboard box.
Oh yeah, it was. I couldn't figure it out.
Cardboard box.
I was too wasted, mate.
I don't know. I don't even know where that come from. But I remember people were doing that. And I said, what is all that about? And they said, it's big fish, little fish, cardboard box. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, you know? Someone's just felt, it looks like you're doing box. Someone's got some really weird dances, weren't they, formed in the early 90s. And you see
the
these
best one
videos.
though is when you saw people that couldn't dance because they'd taken drugs. They thought they could. Yeah. And you know, that was. I mean, looking back on those sort of days, nights, I have fond memories of it because that was really, you know, I was sort of 19. You know, experienced this phenomena which had come out of nowhere because it's literally like a fucking spaceship had landed. Yeah. And they'd gone, right, here's a rape scene. Woo! And everyone's just gone, wow.
Well, you imagine coming out of the army after having 7 years of what's relatively sheltered life. You think you're worldly because there were things you've done. It's like, you weren't there, man. That kind of attitude. But when you come out to Civvy Street and you see what's going on, you think, I'm not ready for this. And my mate said to me, I'd just come back from my door work and I remember the night, I remember who it was. He sat there and I said, how you doing? I said, I'm all right, man. I'm coming down off that whiz a little bit. Did you want a pill? And he said, what are they? He goes, the dirty dollars, mate. I said,
$30?
$30. I said, fuck it, why not?
Where did they get these names from? I mean,
do you know what it was?
$30.
Because it was like, obviously the stamp was $1 on it, but it was speckled. called him dirty because the buzz was probably quite intense. So he turned up about 10 minutes later on, and he said, "There you go." I said, "Well, it's the first one I'm doing. Never done one before." They're all off the. I mean, it's now.
Was you doing the boxes? Were you doing?
I didn't get around to it. I didn't know what the fuck hit me. I did not know what was going on. I took this thing and he said, "Give it about 40 minutes. You'll know what it's all about then."
Yeah.
And everything started getting louder. The DJ's voice was booming through my head. The lights were brighter, and I thought I could hear voices across. I swear I could hear them talking on the other side of the club because everything it's amplified, isn't it? All the sound, all the noise, everything was like, "What the fuck is going on?" I felt amazing. I thought, "Wow!" And one thing I've in reflection, looking back now, is one thing I didn't realize at the time was it's the first time I ever switched off. Living that life in the forces, you're always like vigilant, looking out for any danger. You don't switch off ever. They say it's rammed into you. Constantly be vigilant. Watch out for fucking soft targets. Watch out for this. Watch out for that. Park your car a certain way. Check under your car. Check around your house. You're doing it all the time. I took that gurner, and none of that mattered anymore. Didn't care who was over there. Because doing door work and CP work as well, you're kind of observant of everything going on in the room. Yeah. Switched off completely. I did not care. And I just got out there and I started making boxes and fish on the dance floor. It was absolutely nuts. I didn't know what was going on, honestly. And then that one pill started pushing me in a direction I didn't know I was going to go in. It
changed your life.
It is. It's like the Matrix with the red pill or the blue pill.
You took the $30 pill.
Should have took the $30 pill.
I don't want even pill. I want that one.
Give me that middle one. Give me the $30. Yeah. And after that, I found a lifestyle that I was beginning to enjoy. The circle of friends were close.
Yeah.
And I wasn't dealing at that stage. It was but we're talking a very quick progression from nothing to something.
Yeah.
The club was a mainstream club. It wasn't a rave club. It wasn't like anything like Lakota or Cream or Ministry of Sound or Money Pennies. It was a normal club. Yeah. But they played some good music. At a certain stage of the night, the DJ loved, he enjoyed that style of music. And what I found was the circle of friends I had, it was nice. A couple of them were ex-forces as well. They recently got out at the same time as me. And we had this sort of like weird, how can I put it? When you're in the force, everything's so controlled. You've always got this like suppressive kind of mood over you that you can't do this, watch out for that. It's like taking the chains off. We were just literally unhinged. And we just did not give a f***. And what made it even more interesting was the flat that I moved into was for ex-forces. Yeah. I moved into this flat. I'll say it's 503C Bath Road because that flat became the stuff of legends in the end.
Rave flat.
Mate, I'm not even joking. I've never seen so many people into one flat. There's not even any floor space. I moved to the top floor flat. Okay, there's 2 Victorian houses. You've got A, B, and C. And 503 and 505, right? So they're empty. It's just me. I'm the first one in there. Right away, mate. Hey, he's just got out living in London. I said, mate, you want to get yourself down here? Some flats going. Rather than you travelling up and down from London, I said, get yourself down. So he applied, he got the flats. He lived down below me. Another guy comes out there about a month, 2 months later on, saying, mate, there's a couple of flats here. Get yourself down here. He moved in next door. All the other 3 were vacant. In fact, someone got in downstairs on my side and they were pretty quiet. The other ones were just no one moved in. I can't think why. And we had the 3 of us like being back in the barracks without the rules. And it was bonkers, mate. Bonkers. Every night it was parties back at mine. And that's when I started getting into dealing a little bit. It was kind of like, well, if I have a party in my flat, people are going to have a smoke. We weren't doing coke at that stage. They're going to have a smoke. They might want some more pills. So I kind of like started doing a few bits with my friends, like buying 4 or 5 at a time just to me and my pals. Because the guy that was doing it, he lost his ass. He didn't want to do it anymore. So I'll do it, not a problem. It's only 5 pills. I've done worse. So I can get these 5 and I thought I could make a tenner on that, get mine for free. This one, they're about £8-10 a time. And I found out then that people are inquiring as to why we're having such a good time. Other clubbers in the club, or you got any left? I mean, no, but I could sort you out next week. And that's I'm buying 10 rather than 5. Then it's 20 and it goes up. So I got the club kind of like I'm then selling in the club. It's after about 2 or 3 months of being down and doing my thing. And after about a year of doing that, I mean, this is from 95 until about 98. We had the club pretty much. We don't use the phrase sewn up, but I will use the phrase sewn because it is the phrase, isn't it? Yeah. We had the door staff covered. Everyone was paid by a pill. Easy currency. It was like it was like, doorman, how you doing? Shake your hand, pop that in top pocket. Job done, man. Thanks, mate. So we had our backs covered.
Please tell me the doorman went dancing.
Oh, mate, they weren't far off. they weren't a million miles away. They would move towards our. We had a thing called Pillhead's Corner. It was one section of the club which was not cordoned off, but everyone in that corner was off their tits, and anyone who was drinking was they weren't uninvited, but they were just like, oh, mate, you're just
I
pissed
wonder
up.
if anybody from that pill corner, as you call it, made it into, because I used to do a Brave magazine called The Scene, and we used to have a page called Mate and Estate,
Yeah.
and people used to take pictures of their friends off their heads and then send us the pictures. And there's obviously pictures of people all like
Do you
that.
know what? If you got any archives, probably me in there. You never know. Look for a big bushy load of black hair.
Right.
You never know, mate. They used to do a lot of regular similar mags going around, like one for the Bristol, like the club scene or something. I don't know what it's called.
I think it was Knowledge magazine.
There's always a photographer going around taking photos. And I thought, no, not me. I'm clearly off my fucking nut. And one slipped through the net like that on the picture. Completely wasted.
Now you've done that face. You do look kind of familiar.
It's the only one they got. It's in the archive somewhere. Yeah. There he is. That's when it all started going wrong. So we started selling these pills. So we had the doorman covered. There were some doormen which weren't on board with it. Oh, clearly for obvious reason, because the police station was right opposite the club.
Yeah.
So we had assistant manager on board. He'd bring them in for us because he just walks in the daytime, not a problem. Bar staff, free drinks all night. DJ, most importantly, he'd do a good set for a couple of hours. Lighting jock, make sure the lights are doing their thing. Everyone that we needed to be part of this community, we brought in. We didn't make any money because we were eating it or we were giving it to people to secure that night. But it was 3 years of absolute fucking mayhem. And it was like, it wasn't bad then, it was just fun. It's just an enjoyable time. There was no real dramas, no real problems.
When did you actually start making money out of dealing drugs though? Would you say that's like, you went through the party period where you was getting high on your own supply?
Yeah.
And then you sort of just thought, actually, I mean, did you actually stop taking drugs at any point or just carry on?
Yeah, so the way that it kind of moved on was we kind of made enough just to have a little drink on. It funded our nights out. Yeah. That's the best it got to. My mate, who was my partner at the time, we were sort of doing it together. He was ex-forces. He had a really good talent of spending the fucking money. So we were always in trouble with our supplier. So where's the money? Oh, he's fucking spent it again, hasn't he? So we're always trying to chase. So we went our separate ways. And I found things started to get a lot better from that point on. Yeah. Now, I met my then wife in 98. And I think once I met my wife, I thought, okay, let's chill out. She wasn't really into it. Didn't really know what was going on. So I thought, I got to sort myself out a little bit. What changed that was when she fell pregnant with our first son in early 99, sorry. The minute she told me, the minute we found out we were pregnant or she was pregnant, it's like, right, I better sort my shit out. So I got a job. Went and got a job within about 2 weeks working for a delivery company called Initial Textiles, delivering tea towels and chef's whites and sheets to hotels. It was really boring, but it was a job. I thought, okay, let's do this. I was still selling at this stage, but I wasn't taking, I thought, well, let's not do that. So I kind of leaned away from going out every night and working hard, look after my pregnant wife or pregnant girlfriend, soon to be wife. And that was a journey I took for about a year until our youngest was born, or oldest now. Yeah. I think that just kind of made me focus, right, I really need to pull my socks up now because I've got a child that depends on me. She's not my wife yet. We were going to get married in 2002, which we did. I need to sort my shit out. So I kept on doing this job. But what I found was when I stopped clubbing for Thursday, Friday and Saturday night, which was pretty relentless, I'd still always go to bed. Wouldn't sleep mine, but I'd go to bed. I found Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday existed again. And I sort of remotivated myself because before there were just days like, just trying to get over the weekend, and next it's Thursday, and you're back on it again. So that kind of Groundhog Day finished, and I realised that I was getting up for work on a Monday, I was motivated, and I found that I had this van for work, which is perfect for delivering drugs in, because it was like, I'm doing deliveries anyways, before GPS was invented, way before any of that was used or utilised as it is. It was
white
now.
As well.
It was white, mate. It was like an old LDV with the old sliding door on the driver's side.
Well,
get out of it.
It's like it was an ongoing joke, like white vans. They were used to kidnap people or to
there's just so many of them out there,
or to drop drugs off, because they're so in the script, and there were so many white vans running around, and they all sort of blended into nothing.
They did, and no one would think twice. If I walked into a restaurant with a handful of tea towels, not going to look twice at that. If I walk into someone's house with a handful of tea towels or a bag from a laundry van, I'm not going to think it's full of or fucking. They're not going to question that because they just don't know. And that's what I used it for. And that...
So that was the cover?
That was the cover. And I was actually enjoying the job as well. And ironically, they even promoted me, which is insane. They gave me the job as senior driver. They looked at my my
Did
CV.
you have a little pitch employee of the month?
Employee of the month. No, I never quite made that. Same one from the club. Same one. There he is again. They looked at my CV and they said, why are you doing this job? Because they saw like close protection, ex-forces, all this. I said, why? I said, I want a rest. I don't want the stress of all that. They said, well, we'll give you senior driver then. So they give me that. I had a management qualification, everything. Wow. So they give me the senior driver job, which was easy then because I had flexibility of doing loads of different routes, which means I could deliver more drugs. And what we found was within the staff of this thing, mainly the drivers, a lot of pot smoking going on. And the ones that smoke pot, we all kind of like click together and they start to, yeah, my guy needs this. Or yeah, can you get all of that? Yeah, I can get anything you like, mate. So that job in itself was like slingshotted me into doing some slightly bigger numbers. Not massive at the stage, but I was doing a bit of canvas. So by this stage, I was probably doing 500 pills a week, maybe. Well, not massive. And we got a break when there's some lads down in Taunton area wanted to buy 1,000 pills. A mate of mine in the forces ironically rang us up. So, you got anything in, mate? I said, no, but we can do. So our lads down there are struggling. So okay, we'll have a look. So we managed to secure them 1,000 pills, which is good for us because we counted them all out. You were a little bit on top because there's a few extras, bit of dust, few broken bits, as well as our sort of like our drink on top. Me and my mate thought this has increased our buying power. So we got my other mate on board who I was getting mine from, and he started buying us at the same time. And suddenly, this is what business is called, isn't it? And I suddenly found out that you can actually make some money on this. And it's not just for getting off your tits. It's for maybe to earn a living out of it. So it kind of progressed then, 1,000 a week, cut the 1,000 a week. And then in the end, I was buying like 10,000 a week. And that's where it sort of stayed. On the odd occasion, I might have bought 50,000. Yeah, wow. Not that often.
And if you were doing 10,000 a week, what was you earning a week out of that?
At the time, when it got to 10,000 a week, the pill market had dropped. In 97, 98, we had a massive drought. Or went something wrong with the particular chemical wasn't accessible. So the pills that were coming through were shit. What happened then was Mitsubis came on the scene in 1998, maybe like 97. When the Mitsubishi arrived at that stage, the price war hit and the pills went and people were sort of recreating the Mitsubishis. And what happened then was this brand name of Mitsubishi was known as being a good pill. So people recreated it. They're coming out cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. You're buying them for pence in the end.
1 pence?
No, literally 40 pence for for a pill. And so I'm buying that. That's based on say 10,000.
Wow.
And you might make.
And what was you selling them for?
In bulk, maybe 60p, 70p. So you're making between £1 and £2 grand, possibly if you're lucky. Once you paid your storage, driver, you think 10,000 pills.
That much, is it?
No, it's not a lot left, and that was around about like late 98 until 99. The prices they were just going down and down and down. And people I knew then were starting to get involved in coke, and I held off from it for a while. I don't want to get involved in that world. It's a bit messy. I was dabbling a little bit, but I was mostly just working hard, just seeing what I could survive on the pills. I was making enough to pay the bills, along with my wage from the delivery job. I was surviving on it. It was okay. It wasn't lavish, but it was enough. And then I got into coke back 2002, and that's when it all like.
Is that when you started buying mink fur coats, mink hats,
big platform shoes,
big medallions?
Yeah, I was really discreet, mate. I was really good, really discreet. My money when or if I ever had any went into cars. I'll go into that at a later point, but yeah. My enjoyment and passion was driving. I've always been a passionate driver. But yeah, when I started getting involved in the car, I didn't mess around with grams or ounces. I just jumped straight in with a mate of mine that was doing it at the time. He was the guy I got my first lot of pills from. We're kind of like, we're never partners, but we always work together in different capacities. Traffic flow both ways between us. Sometimes I help him out, sometimes he helped me out, a bit of vice versa. We increased each other's buying power, which was a nice thing to do. And
but what was the reason to do it? Was it because you saw an opportunity, or were people that buying the pills saying, "Can you get me coke?" Or was it just that you looked at the figures and thought, actually, I can make more?
It was all free, mate. It was all free. It was the fact there was no money in pills, and I thought, why am I risking all this for the sake of £500-600 in the end? Once I paid all the bits out of it, what's the point? That's a lot of time. Get caught with 10,000 pills. It's just it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to say to the police they were for personal use.
I know, but one big bag maybe might get away with it. Yeah, blag it. But the coke seemed like a logical step to take at the time, because everyone I knew that was clubbing, they moved on from the club and making the boxes on the dance floor to sniffing, standing in the sides, just standing tapping their feet. Everyone had graduated from that to that, and it is that progression. People say, "Oh, this doesn't lead on to different drugs." It fucking does. Eventually, it takes its journey. So kingpin was the obvious choice. And then it became about money because I had a wedding to pay for. Planning to get married in 2002 and the pills weren't doing it. Money from the textiles certainly wasn't going to do it. How am I going to make some money? It's going to fucking kill me. It's going to be an expensive wedding. So I thought I got to do something. So decided to go down the cane route. And the lad I was working with, I said, look, let's not fuck about. Let's mix it. Let's repress it. Rather than getting it in and chucking it out.
Who, without saying names, was it just somebody local that was selling it and you bought it from them?
Yeah, well, he was the source to getting it from. We never had a decent source in Bristol. You'd always be getting it second hand from someone in Bristol. You struggle to get it direct. It's always going to be Liverpool, Birmingham, possibly down in London.
And what was the quality of it like? Was it
fucking good? Back then, it was good. I mean, 01, 02, when we started dabbling with it, it was a 9 out of 10. It was a good one. It was proper. Yeah, shiny, pearlescent, and it was compared to prices.
Is that how you tell if it's any good, if it's shiny and pearlescent?
Yeah, there's a lot of shit people putting it to give it that kind of effect now. Boric acid creates a shine, and there's a load of different cutting agents which people will use to give it that same kind of look.
Because someone said to me, it was on the podcast recently, that they would buy it from whoever, and then they would repress it, and then they'd mix it with something else.
Yeah.
But then when you got it, it looked like it had just been chopped off or something.
Yeah. So what we do, and I'll be vague. I don't want to teach you around how to repress cocaine on the podcast.
No. I mean, it's not an educate. We're not trying to educate people into crime, but it's just interesting how it works because I'm sure nobody. Well, there might be a couple of people watching this that know what it's all about, but it's just good to talk about it.
Yeah. So what we used to do is we buy it in pure, and you test it. You wouldn't stick out your nose. You don't want to be sniffing a line of pure and then go and mix it.
So you actually had like a chemistry set, like you could actually.
No, two ways. One way I used to do it, last stage was I used to just grab it and rub it between my fingers, and if it's oily, really oily, and it all disappears, I know it's good. It's got a certain smell to it, a certain taste to it. I know it's going to be good. That's just a visual test. Yeah. We'd have to wash one back into a rock of crack, which is I've never been down that road. But the only way to really get a good return on it would be to wash up a gram. So if we took a gram of this particular substance, did what we had to do with it, put it on the scale before it's 1 gram, put it back on it come up at 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, it's 70%, 80%, 90%.
Got it. So that was the test.
That was a good indication that it's going to be, and you know what it looks like when it comes up. Yeah, that's good. Put it on the scale, it comes at like an easy 9.
And if you compared Coke to crack coke, if you compared them side by side and you said that's worth 50 quid a gram or whatever it is, with crack, do you buy a gram of crack or is it just?
I don't know.
I didn't know. I just
no. I think if anyone's involved in crack, I think what people would, if a crack dealer was going to sell crack and they know what they're doing, they'll buy Coke. They want it pure and they would wash it up themselves and they'd make it into crack, and they do it. There's different ways you can do it. There's two main different ways. And they would then distribute it however they see fit. For me, as a Coke, it would just come in pure. We just test it. I would even chuck that rock in the sink, wash it away. Don't want nothing to do with it. What are you doing? No, I don't want it. Get off. It doesn't belong in my life, that stuff. Sounds weird, doesn't it? Selling loads of Coke but not wanting to do crack. Hypocrite.
But all the people that I've spoken to that have been on the podcast and they've discussed crack, they've all said that when it's got hold of them, it's got hold of them, and it's made them reckless, made them aggressive, made them miserable. Yeah, there wasn't really any upside to it. So
no, and I know people that have gone down that road, and it never ends well. People that have done well selling Coke, and they've had for some reason, it was for some insane reason, decided that I'm going to wash one back, and maybe they were testing one, and they didn't want to throw that little rock away, and they thought, I think I'll smoke it. I thought, what are you doing, mate? And they've done that, and within 6 months, everything's gone. They had a nice life. Everything was there. They lost everything. They spent the fucking lot because of that.
So you was buying it locally, and then you started repressing it.
Yeah, so we repress it. So back in the day when we were doing it, we would trying to find the right cutting agent was always quite difficult at the time.
So when you repress something, what you really mean is you cut it, and expand it, and then you chop it up and sell it, or do you just sell it as a whole?
We were selling that as 9 bars or kilos. 9 bar is a quarter kilo, so you get 4 and 9 ounces. That's when the old metric and imperial system gets a bit messy between the two.
So if people are ringing you up saying, can I have 9 ounces? They've either got a really bad problem
or they're doing all right.
They're doing all right.
They're doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got any.
So 9 ounces was your minimum.
Yeah, not a 9. I might have a few people that I've known for a long time. Like, can I have like a little bit less? Yeah, all right. No worries. I don't want to start breaking into a 9, but it'd be like 9s, half keys, kilos, and that'd be it. But we'd repress it with all we get. We'd have a little room set up somewhere, and we pay for someone to have a flat.
What does a kilo of cocaine look like?
What, pure?
I mean, is it like a big box?
Do you remember the old VHS tapes used to get in the cases?
Yeah,
about that size. It's about yay big.
Is that it?
Yeah, a kilo of coke. Yeah, because it's pressed as a block. So when I don't know this process exactly. When it's created in the jungle, it goes in as like a paste or a liquid, and it sets as a block. Or or all the different sort of farmers put it together and they make it into a block and it gets distributed as it is. Stamp on the top, whatever picture is, maybe an AK-47 or a fucking dolphin or whatever, particular one it's going to be, whichever cartel it's going to come from.
Have you a personal question? You've obviously taken, right?
Yes.
Have you ever tried when it's literally just come out the ground, so it's like not been touched about
Pure.
it?
Oh yeah.
And how does that compare to
pub grub?
Oh, is that what you call it, pub grub?
Yeah, stuff that gets cut.
Is it different, or is it just a lot stronger? Or
it's a lot stronger. I think it can't be underestimated. People that are used to taking the cheap hit version or the pub grub, for like, people spend 30 quid,
pub grub.
30 quid on a gram in a pub to go with their pint. Instead of getting a meal, they get like, I got any pub grub going? Yeah, I've got one of those. And it's cut to fat. It's probably about 10%, maybe 15%. They're spending 30 quid. They think they're doing coke. They're probably doing more caffeine and benzocaine than coke. That's not what the bit of creatine. Well, that's good for your muscle growth and stuff like that. But
if you wake up with a 6-pack, you'd be dead.
I've done all right, mate. It's things cut with creatine. Yeah. But the real stuff, if someone tries that for the first time, they try and lay out a big fat line and say, no, wait, mate, you don't want to be doing that. One is, that's expensive stuff. Secondly, you don't need that much. Do like a fraction of what you're doing, tiny little bit, just to understand what you're doing, because it's very, very clean, and you still feel the next day, mate, but it's very clean. And that's what I find the difference was. It's still coke,
okay,
but you don't have all the additives and all the adulterants and the agents that people have mixed it with. Putting out your bugle, creating all sorts of havoc up there. It's mayhem up inside your nose after a while.
Yeah. So then you started off doing this stuff, and then when how long did it take you before you went from doing like bits for people? And I take it, was you just sort of like the connect? So literally you found someone who had a lot of it, and then you was essentially the middleman between them and the smaller people.
Effectively, it started off that way, where I was kind of just joining a few people together, like the middleman kind of thing. But what I found was there was a customer base that was there, and I didn't really look into it. And I thought, I always wanted to be the person I've like to make a bit of money on it, because being a middleman, you don't make that much money. You get a drink here and there, a few hundred quid, maybe $1,000 if you're lucky. You're never making really big money, and it's never, you don't climb like this. It's more like this. It's a roller coaster. You could build up, something goes wrong, build up again, something else goes wrong, someone can die, someone gets arrested. There's things that happen, and I think for me the journey was really bumpy in coke until about 05, 06. I was just building the customer base up again. It was quite difficult up to that stage, but it was climbing slowly. I got customers in dotted around various parts of the southwest of England, over in South Wales, and it was building. It was really getting to something. Okay, I can make some money on this one, and it's working out. But things keep going fucking wrong all the time. It's never.
When you say going wrong, what?
Oh, just people fucking getting arrested and getting robbed and. Arrest or what kill it. The biggest one for me was a knockback, which is what the book Charlie 4 Kilo is about, is when I took on, it wasn't 4 kilos, for the sake of the book it was 4, it was a different number. But when I took on this 4 keys on tick, the night it was dropped off to the house, where the safe house where it's going to get kept and it's going to get distributed, it's going to get weighed up and sent out the next day because it's too late on the night. Something happened somewhere. I won't give it away because it's a good read. What happened was someone got nicked.
Somebody might not want to buy the book. They might want to just do the story in the podcast.
I'll give a little bit of away. So basically, someone got nicked in the train station and they were carrying drugs. And what they had on them was evidence which led the police to the address where the was stored. So you imagine being sat in the house, you got a house full of coke, cannabis, a few fucking pills, and whatever else, a bit of fucking speed.
There's a knock on the door, and you look out the window, and there's a police. You're like,
It's not
fuck.
even a knock. The door goes through. And then I don't know about this at the time. I'm out blissfully enjoying myself, enjoying a day out with my mate, having a little drive. I'm having a day off. I felt something in my mind. I thought, something's not right here. I did get that feeling something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
I said, no, something's not fucking right here. And he said, no, stop panicking. It's fine. I'm trying to enjoy the drive. I went, no, I don't like this. And I tried to ring the guy who's safe house it was. It was about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
No answer. I thought, not unusual. He's a bit of an alky. He might have a late rise, but I'll try him again. I tried the other guy, the one that got nicked in the train station, because he used to link to that house. His phone's off. Thought, don't like this. So I get this really niggling feeling in my mind. In the end, I thought, I rang a mate, so look, mate, do me a favour. Drive down to the fucking safe house, park up down the road and walk past it. And just let me know what the crack is. Because I just knew something had gone tits up.
Yeah.
About an hour later on, he rang, yeah, you're basically he walked past the
jail.
house. I looked in, you get the old Victorian houses and you got the basement flat where you can see down into the lounge from the street view.
Yeah.
He said, and this was a basement flat. And he said he walked past the house. This is police cars outside everywhere. He looked down into the lounge and he saw the guy in the safe house stood there in cut, and he went like, "Don't come in." He saw him out the window, and he went, "Oh." So he ran back because they said the police are there. So that's what I knew I'd been. So I just lost 4 kilos. Now luckily it was pub grub. It was about 20 grand a kilo. It's 80 grand debt. I just got hit with straight
That's
away.
still a lot of fucking money, though, isn't it?
Especially when you can't cover it. I couldn't. I had a bit of money tucked away. I mean, motor was worth about 25k. I don't want to get rid of that. But the guy I owed it to, he wasn't very reasonable, put it that way. And he wanted.
I mean, most people that are selling that sort of stuff probably aren't, are they?
No, they're not. They're
They
not.
probably
really.
can't do your payment plan or interest-free credit.
No, but I managed to achieve a payment plan in the end. Just give me all your money. So I spent then a long
And was
time.
he local?
Yeah, local. I've known him for years. I mean, he's all right. He's a bit like the Duke from fucking Layer Cake, put it that way. You know, a bit loud, bit aggressive, bit shouty. And that's not me. I'm quite subdued and quite quiet, a bit more calculated. And but clearly he wants his money. Understandably, he wants his 80 grand. So I'm then spending a long time trying to pay this debt off, which takes on to the next book, which is overseas operation, which is going overseas to work out, not knowing I'm going to meeting up with my link is ex-forces, and we're meeting up with which we have to presume is part of the cartels, because we're buying coke directly from them. And that's all part of paying this one debt off. So the way that it rose really slowly, and it fucking crashed massively. What I found during that time paying that debt off, linked in with all the stuff overseas I was doing, the stuff in the UK, collecting up money, I built up so much resilience to having a load of shit and dealing with a load of shit. I also found that I was really good at managing my money because I had nothing to spend. Everything I was paying the debt off. All the time I've got a wife and 2 kids now that don't know anything about what's going on. So I'm building it in the background. A lot of customers have deserted me because it all went up. A lot of them I said, look, stay away. I don't know how far this net's going to get cast out. So a lot of people sort of distanced themselves. When I started getting to the back end of this debt and I had like 5 or 10 grand left, I was then I rebuilt my customer base again. Started employing people on board again. So because when I was paying the debt, it was just me on my own doing everything. I was running around, I was storing it, I was running for other people.
You were lucky you didn't get caught yourself.
Yeah, but I put down the fact of having a dad and the police learning to be evasive from a young age and doing a lot of surveillance with special forces, counter surveillance. I knew surveillance really well. Yeah. So my counter surveillance drills were on point. Yeah. I knew what to do when it came to that. Because it's back then, before trackers, it would be people watching you. I knew if someone was following because I followed countless cars before doing my job. Yeah. So I was lucky that way that I could evade any sort of police. And doing it on your own, sometimes you're better off because you know where you stand with that. And you know where you are, rather than worrying about 10 runners, thinking, right, how are you getting on? So I built things back up. I had runners again. Got a safe house again. And I found that people came back to me, but they came back really quickly. And all of a sudden I was making money, making good money. And it built then. That was around about beginning of 08.
Okay, do you know what we should have done at the beginning of this thing? We should have called you the Tony Montana of Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol, Richie Montana. You still can.
Yeah.
Still time.
Richie Montana.
Richie Montana. But yeah, it came back. It was doing all right. And then for the first time, I think ever, even though I've made some bits of money before, I experienced what it was like, relatively speaking, from my stuff I was selling to actually feel like it's what it's like to not care about money. Wow. It was fucking stupid.
What was you earning like when you was at the top?
So technically, hypothetically, because there's things like process of crime, I've got to be quite mindful. I mean, in theory, I was doing between, and on average, from no code to 5 to 10 keys a week. Now, you could potentially earn 20, 25 grand on a kilo. So if I'd sold 10 keys a week, you could earn, a decent couple $100,000. Not that I ever did. On average, 30, 40 grand a week.
Yeah. I mean, that's still a lot of money.
It's still a fair bit, but you get accustomed to it. You get used to it. You got to spend it. You can't put it in the bank. You can't put it in the box. You got a wife that doesn't know where the money's coming from. So how do I sort of like come up with a plausible reason for me to have this sudden wealth? So I thought, I love cars. I thought, I quite like driving. Like, I know, I'll open up a motorsport company. So I did. I set up a motorsport company called Launch Motorsport in 2008. I became a director of a company, and it was around events.
Yeah,
I wanted to organise motorsport events, doing track days on an airfield. And I found out during that time, it was in Kemble Airfield near Cirencester, just off the M4. I was into the Jap cars because they were there. You could hide a lot of money in a Jap car, and plus, no one's going to look too much. I'm driving a Ferrari or a Lambo, which was affordable, but no one's going to take 100 grand cash over the counter for a Lambo or 150 grand. I'm not going to take it. But you go to a garage and you start tuning a Subaru or an Evo to insane power.
Yeah,
they're not going to notice 5 grand here and there. And plus, they're happy to get the money because at that time it was a recession. I was only spending money from their perspective.
Yeah.
So I was putting a lot of money into cars, and I found out that the track days I really enjoyed it. It kind of gave me the adrenaline that I didn't have, that I missed from the army, because the drugs game wasn't giving me that buzz anymore. It was just fucking pure stress. So
I think also for our viewers, obviously now if you probably paid more than £1,000 in cash into a shop or a bank, the alarm bells would be ringing. But back then you could walk in anywhere with 10, 20, 30 grand cash and no one would even blink an eye.
They wouldn't. I mean, due diligence is what upsets everyone now. Any shop, as you're right, any bank, if you go in there with anything which is seen as out of the ordinary, if you always put £1,000 a week, and I'm not going to question £1,000. If you put 10 grand, hang on a minute, right, fill out a form, where'd that come from, sir?
Do you know what the best one? The best one, someone said to me the other day, and it did make me laugh. They said they rung up the bank because they wanted to make a transfer.
Yeah.
And the bank said, "Oh, what's it for?" And he said, "I'm buying something." And I said, "What are you buying?" And he told them. And he said, "Do you know this person?" And he went, "Yeah." And they said, "Where'd you get the money from?" And he said, "You've seen the money's been in a bank for you for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's my money. What the fuck's it got to do with you?" He actually got really upset about it.
Yeah, but they question everything,
but the government, obviously, they want to try and crack down on crime. So obviously, they put pressure on businesses and accountants and compliance to make sure that you know your client, you know where the money's coming from. And obviously, everyone's worried that if they don't ask the question and then you turn out to be Tony Montana of Bristol.
Well, they get lifted. They get done themselves. Don't they? Could look at a couple of years in jail if they get linked to the Money Laundering Act and Process of Crime Act. If they don't ask the question. But yeah, so Tony.
So obviously you're earning this money. You're doing these cars.
Yeah.
Did you ever sort of worry that you had too much money? And
yeah, there were times when I thought, what the fuck am I going to do with this? I couldn't spend it quick enough. I would literally go into the shops, and I'm quite mindful about how things work. I mean, this is the level of being careful I was at. I did a lot of shopping, say Tesco's. I had reward cards. I would never use my reward card because all of a sudden, if I've got like 10,000 reward points gathered up in a month, and my visible income is £2,000, if they investigate, I think, hang on a minute, you spent fucking 20 grand or 50 grand or 30 grand.
And on that occasion, points wouldn't make prizes.
Points make prison.
But there was a famous article about a woman. I don't know if she was Russian, but she was going into Harrods.
Yeah.
And spent millions on a Harrods card.
Yeah.
And had all these points. And they, I think, I don't know whether Harrods did it or whether the government did it, but they looked at it and went, well, hang on a minute, you're only earning this. How can you have a couple of £1 million worth of purchases in Harrods? And it was all fur coats, shoes, bags, watches, necklaces, diamond earrings, diamond rings, but obviously she wanted her points.
I want my points. Give me my 2 million points. Otherwise, we're not shopping Harrods anymore. I'll go next door to Selfridges.
But you read these stories and I am what's called a points whore.
Yeah.
So if I go anywhere and there's a points card, I've got mine out because
Got your apps on your
I
phone.
like getting the prizes.
Do you find that anything you buy now, you sit there for an hour on with the different apps trying to select your app on the thing to scan it everywhere you go?
To be fair, there's not really. I mean, what I think is smart. What the credit card companies have done, they give you air miles or Harrods points or if you depending on which one you get cash back. So I think people tend now to sometimes they double up. So a friend of mine's got a cashback card.
Yeah.
And he's got, obviously, he shops in Tesco, so he's got the Tesco's card. So he gets the points from them and he gets cash back. So for him, he's over the moon. But
win all round, isn't it?
But obviously, if you're up to no good,
you can't do it.
And you can't do it. But lots of people wouldn't even think. They just,
Yeah, I suppose the theory, what you could do is if you really box clever, is I have a friend who's a bit on their ass. So look, mate, give me your points card. I'll scan it onto your name. You can have the points. Yeah. You can carry the can if you want. Charity, mate.
Yeah,
charity. So I was spending like, and throughout sort of 08, 09, I was building a business to motorsport, and then I went to start competing at a sort of semi-professional level in motorsport in something called Time Attack.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed competing. It got that. I just found that the money and the drugs was easily channeled into that quite comfortably at the time.
But there's one thing that we didn't discuss, right? And that was at the time when the police raided that place.
Yes.
And they got the drugs, and then you owed that guy the money. Yeah. That really, if that hadn't have happened, do you think you'd have probably stayed around that level? But because it was put on you and you were forced into, you've got to get this money, you've got to get it quickly.
Yeah.
It led you down that path. And then when you was going down the path and then you started seeing the big bucks, was that when you really got sucked into it?
Yeah, I think you're right. And as well as that, you meet new people during this different sort of mission you've got to go on. You meet people you wouldn't have met before, and you get introductions to people, and you learn.
Only a soldier could say that. The mission.
I was going to call it an operation, but I couldn't get out at the time on a particular mission. So yeah, you do. You meet all these different characters, and you learn from them. You think, okay, that's interesting what you're doing now. I like what you're doing there. I learned a good thing from we're working over in Spain is like vac pack everything, the money, vac pack the drugs, put it in a vacuum pack, and just seal the fucking lot off. In case you've got to ditch it into a field, or it's got to be hidden somewhere, or it reduces the size of the money down. So
I've never even seen that. So what's that then?
You get vac packs for use for storing food. It's like a machine. You've got a big sort of thick polythene bag.
So you've got a machine that does it?
Yeah, you don't suck it out like that. You know these things you put clothes in, you put the Hoover on reverse and it sucks the air out.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So it's the same thing. Same principle, yeah. So what you do is we used to put the drugs into a vac machine, seal it down, seal it off. For two reasons. One is because it's protecting it from the elements. If your drawer does have to ditch it, if they get a chase on it, it's going to be waterproofed. Secondly, it stops the greedy fuckers. If they're getting their fingers in the cookie jar and they want a little bit of a sniff on the way down, they got to break through all the vac packing. So it makes it difficult. But the money's the good one. When you get your, all your denominations sorted out, and it's all got to be right. The 20s, you don't mix it, and you put them in grand or $5 bundles, and all the heads were facing the right way and ironed out.
You have got OCD, haven't you?
A little bit. I'd want it given to. I've had money given to me in carrier bags. I thought, you fucking high, just fuck off and count it properly and bring it back neat.
That is actually quite funny. There you go. And you're like, what is this?
Yeah, sort it. I don't want it like this. At least bring the tenors in one bag and the 20s in another.
I'm not taking them unless they're all facing the right direction.
The Queen's facing that way, the King now. I wouldn't have it, mate. I wouldn't accept it. I said, no.
Yeah.
So in the end, I got a guy to count the money for me because I hated seeing it messy. That was
I know you see it in the movies, but did you have one of them money counters?
Yeah, I did. It was the best buy we ever had, right? Because my mate, I paid this guy, right, £10 for every £1,000 he counted. So, and bear in mind, he might be counting 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 grand a week. He went and bought a money machine because he didn't want to count it by hand. Thought, well, okay, that's ingenuity for you. The money machine was a detector as well. It detected counterfeit notes. The first day we bought it, we collected up a few grand. I don't know, let's say 20, 30 grand. He put it through the machine. The machine cost 200 quid. We picked up 750 quid's worth of fucking Moody 20s straight away. Wow. We knew where they came from. Right, mate, funny money, have that back. So it's worth its weight in gold, but we had the machine, which the police took great joy. When I got arrested, they actually said, we found a money machine in your office, Mr. Jones, and we dare say it will be covered in. We'll get into that at some point. So we had the machine. It was good. It made life so much easier.
So the question I've got about the machine, and I don't know if this is true, but is there like a counter on it so that if you put money through it, even though it obviously counts the money and says that's 500 quid, that's £1,000, that's 10 grand.
Yeah.
Was there like a fucking clock in the back of it which said how much money's gone
Log
through
on how
it?
much has gone through. Quite possibly.
Right.
Not that
I say,
would know.
because if that was part of it, I mean, that would have been, because when they said, oh, you've had X amount of money, you'd be like, how'd you work that out? And he goes on the back of the machine.
Well, I'd have said I got a second hand, mate.
Right.
That's a quick one for you there. But there might have been an internal.
That's something that I wondered whether they had like an internal clock.
I think you wouldn't be surprised if some do, but I guess if you wanted to be the sort of person that knows yourself how much of you amassed through that thing for an accounting thing, then you'd want to be able to log that, access that information yourself, wouldn't you? Yeah. But would the manufacturer do that? I don't know.
Did you do? You have a little book and you wrote down all the numbers, or did you have it all in there?
Most in there, but I did have one occasion where sometimes it's just too much to remember. Then you don't want to get the numbers wrong. If you get numbers wrong on that, you could be missing out on thousands of pounds, and someone's like at a right laugh on you. So there's one occasion where this is about 08, it's a car's crackers, little cheese crackers you get. Yeah. And on the flaps on the inside, I opened the flaps and wrote in pencil, really, really light, just an initial of the nickname of the person and a number next to it. And that'll be it. That'll be my list on a couple of these flaps. And that was talking of flaps.
What did you say it was called? A
list of
No, the
cars crackers.
Cars crackers. So if you're wondering, cars, what your cracker wrappers are used for, then I've never heard of that ever being used for that.
Well, the reason I did it is because it's hidden rather than, because police are going to search, they're going to look for notepads, they'll look for sheets of paper, but they won't necessarily look on the inside of a packet of crackers. And that was the only thing I ever had in the house at the time. Ironically, around about, I think it was in something like October, November 2009, knock on the door, police. What's going on? Yeah,
search warrant for your crackers.
Come and search your cracker box, Mr. Jones. They came in, so we're here to search the house. The warrant said for evidence of unexplained wealth. I thought, what the f does that mean? He said, yeah, fill your boots. The missus there. She said, what the f is going on? Kids, she takes the kids to school and they're searching the house. And I'm sat in the kitchen just chilling out, and they're going through the house with a fine tooth comb. There's an officer sat in the kitchen with me to make sure I don't use a phone or anything like that. Yeah. I'm thinking, so I got that in the food cupboard there, I got that crackers thing with my tick list on the inside.
Was you like, don't go into the food?
I thought they're going to go in there. I know they're going to search it. I'm thinking, what do I do now? I need to get rid of that. So I said to the guy there, said, mate, do you mind if I get some food? I'm starving. He said, no, crack on, mate. So
I fancy some crackers.
Exactly that. So I went to the fridge, got the butter out, got the crackers out of the thing. They've been there months, opened up. Took out these 2 or 3 crackers and trying to spread this hard butter. They're just falling apart on me, aren't they? Just literally in dust. I thought, missus, she's a nightmare. They've gone off, haven't they? What's she like? Grabbed the crackers, scrunched it up, chucked it in the bin, and then closed the lid over that. And I thought, I'll have to get some toast later on. So I just sat there. He didn't think anything of it. And then they came into the kitchen to search the kitchen. I'm thinking, are they going to check the bin? Is that going to be all right? And do you know what I did? They just opened the cupboards, looked in. I didn't even search properly. So I didn't really have a thorough search. Yeah. But the only thing that was there was that thing, that little tick list. So in answer, I did used to have a list, but it was on the inside of a box of crackers.
But the unexplained wealth, what I wonder how that kicked out. Because so was it the cars, you think?
No, so this was just the cars were beginning to pick up. Now, this was linked with someone I used to sell a bit of coke to. Now, what happened, this guy bought a car from me. You used to get cars bouncing around the circuit. The car might go between various different dealers, and this was an ex-auction car. It was ex-Met Police, actually. It was a 5 Series diesel. Great, a really good, what he calls a grey car. It doesn't stand out in any way. Sold it to him, and he owed me money for it. So what he did is he deposited the money to my bank. It references car sales, registration and such like. He got nicked for filling someone in up in his area. Yeah. When they nicked him, they went back and they found a little bit of drugs. I think they found something to do with drugs anyway. When they found out, they found through his bank statements, they found a statement of money getting transferred to my account. And that was the link. That's what brought them on top. That was West Mercia Police. Wow. So, but ironically, when they didn't arrest me. They walked out with the laptops and everything else. Yeah, that's fine. Crack on. That was it then until the following year, around about 2010 April. They said, "Well, we'd like to do you a voluntary interview." I said, "Yeah, that's fine, no problem." Went down there, interviewed them. They said, "I said, yeah." I said, "I sold this guy a car. Yeah, we're satisfied with that. No further action." That was it. I didn't realize at the time that the police were already on my case from something else. There was already an investigation being sort of like put in place. So I think the action they could have taken, they may have had enough there to go further, but they would probably say, look, hang on, mate, we've got something big going on here. Back the fuck off. So that was in 2010. Now, 2010 was like my best and worst year. So it started off, I went pro racing.
Yeah.
Sponsored a race series with mate. My co-defender and my supplier of coke, he was working with a firm in London, and we had a good supply coming through. And we were both into motorsport. He was into racing.
Was you going to Spain at this point? Or was this after?
No, Spain was before. So Spain was in.
Oh, so that was when you was, and that was working with the Colombian
so when I was
cartel.
paying the debt off. Yeah, so
Right.
the bit with Spain was basically to pay the back end of this debt off. I still had about 20 odd grand left to pay. And I was sent over to Spain to do some work, bring a couple of bits back for these lads. And the plan was to meet up with my contact down in the south of Spain. And I rang him up. It turns out he's a squaddy or ex-squaddy. And I thought, fucking hell, this is brilliant. You know, we hit it off immediately. And we were like, yeah, this is good. This is really good. Met his mate, who's also another ex-squaddy. He was his right-hand man, or he's just employed by him. So there's three of us, para, infantry, tanky. And that was it. We had these three lads, like a mercenary thing. And I didn't realise that his links were to some cartels in Madrid. His girlfriend was Colombian, so therefore she had links to the community in the Madrid area. So I was going into Madrid, picking up a large amount of cocaine and transporting that through Madrid in a suitcase, which was just ridiculous. Honestly, I've never known anything like it.
You couldn't do it now, but
no.
Back then there was. I suppose there wasn't any.
It was weird because
Was there any sort of when you put the scanning devices, or was it just
on the passports and that?
Yeah. When you put the luggage in, or was it literally just?
No, we didn't bring it over the water. Luckily, I just had to pick it up from this firm in Madrid.
Okay.
So I was my job was to pick up the coke, get it into the hotel, repack it, baggage it, ready for the transport up through Europe. Whereas my job then would be we had the guy in the van which would carry it all, and then we'd have we call satellite patrol. We would drive front of it and escort front of the van, beyond the van. My job was to go ahead, check the peage and the tolls. If there's any police knocking around, yeah, you're clear, come on through. They'd come through, I'd catch up, I'd go ahead again. So it's called leapfrogging. We go away through Europe doing that. So it was good. We only did it for 3 months, but interesting experience.
But then fast forward even back to 2010.
So so good and bad years. So 2010, I went pro. I was racing pro and time attack. I was racing professional standard racing, saloon racing in the cars. I planned to open the garage. That was the next step from doing the events and the track days. I planned to open the garage. I sponsored a 3-car team in the British Drift Championship. So really throwing the name out there, really trying to get Launch Motorsport out there to get the customers in, because the plan was to knock all that shit on the head. And the aim was, once the garage is open, that's it, I'm done. I'm out of it. I'm walking away from it. It was a good year. The year was going so well. It was going swimmingly, really good. And the garage opened up on the 1st of October, 2010. And the plan was, the guy that was running it for me, is I would then give him everything. I said, right, mate, you take the fucking lot. You do what you want with it. But all I want from you, until this garage is self-sufficient, which could take a year, could take 2 years, I want 4 or 5 grand a month just to cover the overheads on the garage and a little wage for the mechanics and such like. Just enough to do what needs to be done. Agreed, not a problem. So anyway, up on the 1st of October, garage is going really well. End of October, 28th, 29th, my mate, again, veteran, main runner, he's got a bit on him, he's gone off to do some deliveries, just goes off the radar completely. What's going on here? Like, trying to ring him, no answer. I thought, ring him again. Right, not going to ring him anymore because that's just bad news. If his phone's off, something's going fucking wrong. So you're thinking to yourself, and then fucking hell. I'm ringing the customers, which he was due to see. Nope, we've not heard from him. Nothing. I thought, right, is he dead? Has he been kidnapped? I'm waiting for my phone to go. We're going to get a phone call? So, right, we've got your fucking runner here. What's fucking money? What's happening? Nothing. The next day comes and I'm fucking in bits now. You think, what the fuck's going on? Phone goes, and my mate, who's the money counter, so have you seen on the news? And no, so mate, he's been nicked. He got pulled over by the armed police on the M5 yesterday. Oh, fuck, he had that coke on him. Oh shit, it's all right, lads.
Did he actually tell you though when you saw him?
What, my mate who got nicked?
Yeah,
we've spoken a few times since, and we had a few. So yeah, they
no, but I mean when you said you saw him, he was in bits. Did he tell you what happened?
Yeah, so my mate that saw it on the news, I was in bits. Well, fucking hell, it's been, we're done for. It's all over. That's it. They said the guys I've worked with, we don't get nicked for doing silly things. We're really, really careful. And I said, that's not random. That's planned. That something has happened. But I was kidding myself thinking, I know he can be a little bit angry now and again. So I know he's had a road rage before, and I've been sat in a car with him with 30 grand at my feet, and he's got out of the car and tried to fill some. I was like, get back in the car when we've got money here. And he's out there trying to smash the fucking window for us. Get back in the fucking car. We stopped all the traffic behind us. Like, get in the fucking car, mate. So he gets in. So I know that he's prone to road rage, and I'm thinking, maybe it's that. Maybe he's been nicked for something he's done, and so I'm wishful thinking. So I said, right, lads, we're shutting down. Told the customer, right, we're shutting down. Mate, he's been nicked. We don't know. Give it a few weeks, see what the fallout there is. We'll go from there. He gets remanded anyway, so we don't really know.
Did you speak to him at all?
No, we cut links straight away because I thought, I don't want to be contacted someone who's inside just in case he's being monitored or found out. They've already know what's going on anyway. So I've given it a few weeks, and then we get to the back end of November, and the guy that's managing it for me, he's already started pulling out of it. He's already started distancing himself. He said, do you want to get back on it again? I said, no, not really, mate. He said, well, look, you need to make some money. The garage is struggling. I said, I know it's struggling, but I can sell off assets to keep it going for at least 4 or 5 months. I've got enough tied up in cars and engines and bits and bobs to make it work. He said, no, let's get it going again. I said, nah, mate, fuck that. He said, I said, I've got no runner, so I got a runner for you. I thought about it for a week, and I thought, back end of November, I thought, fuck it, let's do a run. So I got this guy, sent him down south, picked some stuff up. He went down south, couldn't hear from him. He got nicked. So that's 2 runners in 2 months have been nicked. I thought, shit, he's been done. So it's definitely on top now. We're definitely in trouble. So that was it. We shut down.
Did he have gear on him as well?
Yeah, he had a little bit. We were doing a little test run. He had 4.5 ounces of really high purity. Then it was high, about 70-80%. It was pretty good gear for the times. So I thought, shit, that's it now, we're done. So that's it, I'm shutting down. That's it, I severed all the ties. And we're just sort of like bimbling through December, muddling over my life thinking, they're going to come and get me at some point. They must do. This is definitely an investigation. So it gets like the back end of December, and I'm trying to sell off assets, trying to flog stuff over to France, but selling off I had like 4 or 5 high performance cars. I was just flogging them off, getting rid of bits and bobs, knowing that if I get nicked, that's going to be proceeds of crime. Yeah, let's use that to keep the business going a little bit longer, and if I can hide anything, which I didn't, then we'll see how it goes. So December's coming up, Christmas is coming gone, New Year's is approaching. My mate rings us, oh, Rich, I'm desperate, it's New Year's Eve, you got anything? I said, mate, I'm not doing it anymore. And he used to buy an ounce of pure when I had it. It's like a mates rates thing. So, mate, I got nothing, I'm done, I'm out of it. He said, mate, please, I've got no one to turn to. I said, look, I'll give you my mate's number. He said, he was literally crying on the phone. I said, mate, please, just leave me, please, I need my gift. I said, look, fuck off, I'm not doing it. So give me mate's number. I said, look, ring him. Rang me, mate. I said, look, mate, I got a guy for you. I don't want nothing to do with it. Just if you can make from it, you make from it. He's a good customer. He's a good payer. If your stuff is all right, he'll have it. He said, yeah, no worries. So New Year's Eve comes. I was sat in my garage on my fucking own, freezing me. It was really cold winter. 2010 winter is freezing. So I'm sat there and my phone rings and it's the lad that wants a Coke. And I say, yeah, what's up, mate? He said, I can't get hold of your mate. I said, have you tried ringing him? Yeah, he's not answering. I said, well, just keep fucking trying him then. Phone down. I said, don't ring me again, sort of thing. Phone rings again. It's the guy that's giving it to him. I said, what? He said, your mate's ringing, but I can't get through. I said, just keep trying each other. So they both rang me. They met up, a place called Clifton in Bristol. He gets nicked. He drives away from the deal and he gets nicked. He gets out that night because he had an ounce on him. He got not cautioned, but he got arrested and interviewed. He rang me at like 10:30 that night, New Year's Eve. So I just got out of the police station. Oh no!
Why are you ringing me?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that was the last Coke I sold, New Year's Eve on 2010. Last Coke I had anything to do with, and then it was just waiting, knowing that it's going to come, it's going to happen. So we got through the winter and we kind of crept into the spring of 2011 and thought, they ain't come yet. Maybe just maybe I've gotten away with this one. I'm beginning to sort of like ruffle my feathers a little bit. Think, okay, let's think about the motorsport season. They've got the garage going. We're on our ass, man. We're struggling. We've got no money coming in. It's been a bad winter. But let's make it happen. We did an event at Castle Coombe with raising some money for there was that big tsunami over in Japan in the beginning of 2011. Yeah. So let's do a track day. Let's launch the season with a track day, and we'll do passenger rides all day in the cars. We did that, raised a few quid, raised our profile a little bit, started getting bookings in the garage, and I was back in work the following day. It was on a Tuesday or something. And I'm sat in my reception in my garage, which is fucking empty. There's a couple of cars in there. Sat in the reception, and where I'm sat, my office is upstairs, my little suite upstairs, looking out through the door, a bit of an oblique angle. I can see the car park. We put the cars out there, and it's just you get like a little snapshot of anything goes past. I've seen like 2 or 3 dark cars drive past. And straight away I thought, this is it. They're here. I just knew because I thought that's a marked car. I saw the antenna on the back, little area on the back of the car. I thought, yeah. So I got up and I thought, I'm just going to go out and say hello. See who it is. It's a customer. I'm here. I'm on my own. It's not even 8:30, so the mechanics aren't answering up yet. So I walked out and I see I think it was 3 Focuses, or 3 dark cars, debussing all these plainclothes police officers, obviously police. And I looked at them and they started walking towards me. I thought, I'm proper there. I said, morning, how we doing? Rich Jones said, yeah. And he said, right, put your hand down. And they walked up to me, and the cop was decent, mate. He was all right. He was decent with me. So I said, like, we're here to arrest you for a conspiracy, like classic jokes, name me coat. He slapped the cuffs on, and that was it. And I got nicked, and I went back in the garage, and they started doing their thing. Up, the vans turned up, started ripping. There's nothing in the garage apart from the money counter. That's in the garage. It's in the cupboard upstairs. So they come in, and they proceed to start ripping the garage apart. My mechanic turns out and they say, you may as well fuck off home, mate. There's no work today. Right. They put me in the back of the car, and I sat on my back and got nicked for conspiracy. Didn't charge me. They bailed me as well, which was quite weird. I was expecting to get remanded. So finished all the interview process, got through all that, and then he came in. I was thinking, right, they're going to remand me. They're going to keep me here tonight, and I'll go to Bristol prison in the morning. And so it's a bit. I said, you've been bailed. I went, fucking get in now. I'm getting to go home. I straight up thought, great. And then I thought, oh, fuck. I've got to explain this to the missus now, because they searched the house as well. They didn't just do the garage, to the house.
That went down well.
Well, I got there at 1 o'clock in the morning, dropped off by the police car. Great for the neighbours. Of course, police, they're all fucking there. And I'll turn up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I said, oh, it's me. Because they've got my phone. I sort of knock on the door. I said, what is it? I said, oh, I'm back. And she was all right with it. You know, she was okay. I said, look, I'll sleep down here. I said, I'm tired. I don't want to disturb you. I'll get some kip down here. Went to work the next day. I woke up at 7:30. I had a couple of hours kit, went to work. I just carried on as normal. Mechanics, I ran a mechanic. Where the fuck are you, mate? He said, well, we're open. Get yourself down here. Came in, just cracked on as normal.
Yeah.
So a few months went by then. I was waiting for the various... I got charged the following month. Right, fair enough, that was going to happen anyway. During this time, there was another conspiracy going on. There was my suppliers, which was the guys at Awesome Motorsport. They were getting nicked at the same time. Right. So what happened then in June is they all got nicked. Same as when I did in April. They all got nicked as well, and they all got remanded in custody. So I sat there, they'd lost everything, and all the fallout on all the sites, all the forums, all the shit going around. And I'm sat there in my office again on the morning, on July the 4th or whatever it is, or back end of July, and I'm sat there and 3 unmarked Focuses pulled up outside the garage again. I looked out, I thought,
okay,
I'm not going to get out this time, fuck that. So I sat in there and then walked a load of different coppers. I thought, and they said, oh yeah, first it was Avon and Somerset. It's Gloucestershire serious organised crime. It was before it was soccer from Bristol. I said, yeah. I said, we're arresting you on conspiracy to supply. I went, I've been done for that, mate. Bristol said, no, we're doing you again. We're giving you a second charge. I went, what the fuck? I said, can you do it? I said, yeah, we can arrest you as many times as we like. He said, with another conspiracy. I thought, fucking hell, Gloucester. I thought, well, that's linked with my co-defendants. They were from Cheltenham. And Gloucester, I thought, fucking hell, I got another one. So they put me in the back of the car and off I went up to Gloucester, interview with them. They bailed me to go back the following week to get my phones back, and then they remanded me.
Did you answer the questions I asked you? Or
no, I was fucking silent, mate. I've actually got a clip on my interview with Gloucestershire. Didn't say a word, mate. So just looked at the fucking camera, looked at the coppers, but I'm not.
And what was the and then they remanded you?
Yeah. So they remanded me in the following week.
So the first one they didn't have any evidence, but the second one they did.
Well, the first one they had evidence, but I think what they did, they were communicating with different police forces, and they said, no, we want to come and get him again. We want to try and get some more information on him. So I think maybe they arrested. They were 2 combined forces. So in the end, the combined force was Avon and Somerset, Gloucestershire, and Thames Valley, because our suppliers were Serbian, which I didn't know about that.
Okay.
So we were getting from the Serbs in Heathrow area. So when I got arrested the second time, I saw a list of names, or this list, like I know them because I've been racing with them and working with them. What's this fucking Vujovic in Gospidanov? What the fuck's that? These are Serbian nationals. I thought, oh, right, okay, fucking hell, that's a bit heavy, isn't it? So we ended up working with the Serbs, but they were all remanded. One of them slipped through the net. So they remanded us in Gloucester I was in there for 5 weeks, and I got bail.
Yeah.
Because at that time the riots kicked off in London, something to do with, I think it was a racial attack or something. Massive riots all over the UK. The local jails were filling up, so we applied for bail through judge and chambers, and I got bailed. I was tagged, signed at the station 3 times a week, and put up a surety of 25 grand. It wasn't a huge amount. Yeah. So that was it. I was then on bail for 9 months till the trial started the following year in 2012.
What did you went not guilty at the trial?
Yeah, like a dickhead. Not guilty, yeah. Because this time I still denied knowledge of it for the sake of my family. Dad was still alive then. I didn't want to accept what I'd become through drugs.
Got it.
I kind of like thought, if I admit guilt, if I say guilty.
Did your lawyer though say that you should go not guilty?
Well, the lawyer, the brief said, "Oh, you got a chance here," because they want to get the money on the trial. The barrister said. He said, yeah, he said, we've got a chance. And then what turned it for him was we were looking at telephones and the attribution of certain burner phones, as they're called, like throwaways. And he said, there's 3 numbers in question which have been attributed towards you. He said, the cell site analysis on these phones puts them in the area of your contract phone frequently across this 6-month investigation. He said, it'll be difficult for you to say they're not yours. He said, however, if you do say they're yours, they'll probably find out, it will be very difficult to get you off. I said, but is there still a chance? He said, there is. I said, well, I'll go with that slim chance then. Yeah. I'll roll the dice, see where it goes. So we ran trial for 7 weeks, and I was the only one out of the whole conspiracy of like 13 people that got 2 charges against me. Wow. So I'd count 1 and count 2. So it was a bit complex. There's a lot of argument between the briefs and the police about what to do. Do we do 2 trials? Do we do one big fat trial? Do we have Rich Jones on 1 trial with 2 counts against him, or do we have Rich Jones doing 2 trials on count 1? And it was a fucking mess. So they did 2 trials in the end, where I just sat on 1 trial with count 1 and count 2, which made me look really bad. I was the only one in there which linked with 2 conspiracies. But in the end of the trial, when it came through to deliberation, we're sat there, and they did the old jury stood out, and that's probably one of the most surreal moments of my life, standing in a dock waiting to find out if you're guilty or not guilty. Not once, but twice. Wow. So we're sat there. There's only 5 of us on this trial. The others are on the next one. And the sort of foreman gets up and says, right, how do you find this chap on the right of count 1, guilty or not guilty? Guilty. And Kelsey's family are having a right fucking nightmare in the public gallery. Yeah. Serb next to me, guilty. Well, he wasn't very fucking happy. Rich Jones, not guilty for a fucking result. 2 guys next to me got not guilty as well. Which is, again, I'm not going to say if they all weren't, but they did well. They did really well. Then it came around to count 2. Right, how do we find Rich Jones of count 2? Guilty for fucking hell, that was it.
Wow.
So that was
I wonder why you got found not guilty on one and guilty on the other.
Because the way that the conspiracy charge was, they wanted to know if I was guilty of conspiring with these people from Cheltenham as part of their organisation. The judge said quite fairly, amongst a lot of things he said which were quite unfair, he said, if you think Mr. Jones is a co-conspirator and helping to organise this, then you should find him guilty. Yeah. If you think Mr. Jones is just a customer of this conspiracy, you should find him not guilty.
Got it. So it was
in
favour on that one.
Yeah.
If you got done on both, you'd have probably got longer, wouldn't you?
No.
Or would it have been a concurrent?
It was the same. It would have been the same sentence. They would have fucked me the same either way. So what happened was, because I was put down as leading role count 1, a leading role category 1 on my conspiracy, the same as leading role category 1 on that one. If I'd have got guilty on that one, I would have got the same sentence running concurrently. They'd have said, right, 15 years for that one, 15 years for that one, run concurrent. Then they said consecutive, I've been fucking 30 years. But Cody's got 18 apiece. Then I got 15. Then there was a couple of 10s. There was like a 9, an 8, a 7, a 5, a 4, and a 3, and a few bits and bobs in between.
And I take it when you got that sentence, you didn't think, I'm going to appeal. You just thought, you know what, I've just got to do it.
Get on. Well, they give you the chance to appeal anyway, just as a formality. Everyone gets that one shot at it, just because you can. Bruce said, yeah, go for the appeal anyway. Just if you don't get it, you don't get it. We know you're fucked either way. So we ran the appeal, it got knocked back. The big one was Pocker. That's the next one. We spoke about earlier about the due diligence and money and everything else. When the process of crime comes in, because when you nick it, they seize all your assets, or they seize it on paper. They restrain everything, and then they come up with a bill. Now, I'm very savvy with Pocker. So I'm quite calculated, and I calculated poker from way before the arrest started happening. I knew that if things go wrong, I should never have anything around me which isn't expendable. I never bought a house because I know they'll take the house off you. I would never put my wife and kids in a house which they could lose, stay rented all the time. If I invest in a property, they're going to take it as a part of your income, part of your benefit. So in the end, my pocket was just like $5,000, which I was happy to pay. I just sell off a couple of assets which they knew were there, sell those assets in order to retain the ones which they also knew were there. So there's nothing underhand. It was just understanding how the pocket works.
Got it.
And I was happy at the end of it, apart from the sentence.
Oh yeah. And then, what was it like looking down the barrel of that? I mean, was it daunting, or did you just
sort of 15?
Yeah, I mean, how did you kind of get your head around doing that?
I think initially you kind of spend a bit of time. When I got to 15, I was expecting about 12. I didn't quite put myself in the right category. I should have gone 1.
If you'd have pleaded guilty,
I'd have got 9 to 7. I would have got more than 5 years off if I'd have gone guilty at this stage. Okay. What a dick. I should have gone. Could have saved a lot of time. But I don't think I would have got long enough in jail then. I'd only done like 4.5 years. It wouldn't have been enough to put me on the direction I'm going in now. So I probably needed that extra little bit just to ram it in that you f***ed up, Rich. You need this. So yeah, looking down the barrel of that one, I thought, right, 15, let's break it down. Having the way we had to sort of share it to the kids, because the kids at the time were 13 and 7. Wow. So they understood Dad wasn't there. We couldn't say, Daddy's working.
It'd be out for your 30th birthday.
I'll be out for your 14th, mate. Don't worry about that. You'll make it. So yeah, we kind of had to break it down in a way. So right, okay, let's look at this. Right, I've done 9 months on tag. That 4.5 of that comes off because it's a 12-hour curfew. Okay, that leaves me with about a bit of remand. I've got to do 7 years. Right, that's 6 months done. 7 years. Well, last 2 are going to be a cat at the open jail. So I'll do 5 years, right? A couple of years in a cat B Loudon Grange, sort my shit out, and then 3 years in a cat C. Yeah. So Loudon Grange and cat B went straight away. It was all right. It wasn't bad. It was, as jails go, private jail run by Serco. It's a shithole now, but back then it was good. And I won't say I enjoyed it, but I didn't dislike it. I found myself getting into I got fit, I got healthy. I was in bad shape when I went. I went out, got my head straight, got myself physically fit again, and I won't say reinvented myself, but I started to create a better version of myself, which I kind of lost all that during that sort of transition out of the army. I lost who I really was. That's why I called the handle the lost soldier, because I was genuinely lost in society. So the Cat B was all right, Cat C Oakwood, it was all right, but I found my veteran support in there. I started looking at working with veterans in there, creating support services for them. I really sort of channeled that, and in the end, when I should have just done 3 years in a Cat C, I stayed there for 2 more years, and I did open rottles and day releases from a closed prison, which for that prison at the time I was the first person to run up more than 2 years on rottles and day releases. So prison set, it went by quickly. I came out of there fired up, ready to go.
Do you have any trouble in there with anybody, or was it all?
No, it was all right. It was a lot of the trouble comes towards people that are either exhibiting a vulnerability and they just don't know how to carry themselves, or people that are just getting involved in politics. If you're involved in stuff, you're gonna get trouble. It's gonna happen because prison's full of people that just got very little. How can you put it? Negotiation. They don't negotiate well. They just end up getting the tools out. It just goes straight. It goes tits up very quickly. Right. I found you gravitate towards the right people in time. It takes a while, but you find the right people. You have it with the right people. You don't have it with people that are just dickheads. You just avoid them like to play. And doing a long sentence, I was on long-termer wings, lifers wings, much more settled, much more grounded. A lot of my best friends or best pals in there were lifers. So it was easier because they're not going to go. They ain't going nowhere. They're there for a long time. So you got a degree of stability, which helps you sentence. Because if you're on a wing on a Cat C jail, it's very transient. People coming and going every day. Oh, another one's going there. And they're fucking crimes. You've got to do 2 months for a driving offence. Fuck off. I've another 5 years to do. Fuck off.
And you get to the end of that sentence, and what was the? Yeah, when you no, I'm going home now.
Yeah.
What did you say? I'm never ever fucking coming back here again?
I decided that before I was arrested, I knew I wasn't going back into it, but I don't think it was a really decisive moment because I think the sentence is what made it happen. And I think I spent 7 years not drinking, not doing anything at all. 7 years being really, really clean. And I found that the fact that I wasn't stressed in the same way that I was living in that world is so stressful. It doesn't do your head any good. You think you're okay until you're out of it, and you think, fucking hell, that weight. When I was sat in the back of that police car on the first arrest, the weight lifting from my shoulder. Although I knew I was in trouble, and although I knew I was going to go to prison, the weight lifted immediately, thinking, I've done it now. I'm out of it. Because I was either going to die, be successful almost, or get nicked. Yeah. So getting nicked, I think, was probably the best way, because the success would have probably pulled me back into it eventually. Getting nicked was the best way.
And what have you been doing since you actually come out?
So coming out,
I know you did a little bit in Banged Up. Channel 4.
So I was classed as furniture. I did my.
he was background.
I was
artist.
background artist. I tell you what, I went into Banged Up because I wanted the experience to see what it's like being on TV, understand how that industry works, and they said just be yourself. I thought, oh, you sure? Because I'm pretty fucking quiet.
Yeah.
But they needed that. They needed to see that diversity on the wing of people that are just getting on with their bird. They needed people in the background doing their thing, because the long-termers stabilize the wing. You've got the lunatics, which destabilize it, and we stabilize it. And that's how that dynamic works on a wing. And I really enjoyed it. I'd do it again. If it come out, I'd do it again, because I enjoyed the experience. I think it was fun. Yeah, Banged Up was good. I've been working on the books. I'm like, say, book two.
So let's talk about your new book. Your new book is
new book, Overseas Operations. It's going to be out. It's out. I mean, it got put on the platform in December, waiting for it to get clear. So by the time this podcast goes out, it will be available on Amazon. And that of ops, I've got to do 4 books. It's too much for one.
Would you say you were a lost soldier, but now you've found what you want to be?
I'm just the soldier.
The soldier.
I was definitely lost. I came up with the name. I was sat in my cell, and I was thinking, I'm going to do a book, but I don't quite know which one I'm going to go yet. Yeah. That was always the plan B. If I get away with it, I'll disappear in the sunset and never sell drugs again. If I don't get away with it, I'm going to do a book. And I came up with the idea of just my life, of the life story. And I just sat and I thought, where the fuck did I get lost? And I thought, The Lost Soul just came to me like that. And I thought, that's the name of the book.
And if you had a shot, if someone said to you now, Rich, you can go back in a fucking time machine, would you change anything? Or do you think what you've gone through and what you've done has made you are today?
It has made me who I am, but I think if I could change anything, I wouldn't have taken that pill, mate. I would not have taken that pill in the middle. I would have avoided
it. $30.
$30. I'd left the $30.
That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I think I would have. And if I could rewind even further, I probably wouldn't have got out of the army for the sake of a relationship which never lasted more than 6 months. I don't begrudge anyone. My life is a sequence of bad decisions, but I'm making better decisions now. And I think, in retrospect, if I changed anything, I wouldn't have met my wife, who's now met, so I'm good friends. I wouldn't have my 2 amazing boys. I wouldn't have any of that, because I met my wife in the club I was selling the pills in. None of that would have happened if I not been involved in that game. So there's that yin and yang, isn't there? I'm happy to take all the shit, because I know there's some real nice little gems in there which I picked up along the way, and I'm not defined by that, but I'm sort of like working hard to do my best. I'm a trauma therapist now. I work with PTSD. I support veterans. I even support blue light services. I cure PTSD with this incredible form of therapy, which is massive now, and it's really clever. Book writing's great. I'm just enjoying life. It's not easy. It would be easier to go back into it and think, yeah, fuck it. But I like the fact that I'm struggling, because I know my door's not going to go through in the morning, or it shouldn't be anyway.
You can sleep at night.
I'll sleep better. I don't wake up at 6:30 anymore waiting to think, right, okay, it's not going to be today. Every morning after getting arrested, I thought, door ain't gone off yet. Okay, cool. Another day's grace. Yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed having you on, Rich, and hearing your stories and your journey. And it's great that you've come out the other end, and you're actually, helping people cope with the PTSD.
Yeah.
You're writing books. Obviously, you got your podcast that you're doing.
Yeah.
With Lewis and Frankie, and what was that called again? The Ex-Chronicles.
The Ex-Con Chronicles.
Oh, sorry, the Ex-Con Chronicles.
Yeah.
Easy for me to say.
Easy. Yeah. Nobody else can say. We call it tech. Yeah. It's a work in progress, but it's going to be good. We're looking at a lot of stuff on the road. We think we quite like being out and about, because we spent a lot of time banged up.
Yeah.
So we did one in the woods the other day, and it's just, Lewis is a star on that one.
Yeah, he's good fun.
Yeah. It's good.
Well, again, thanks a lot, Richard, for coming on.
Mate.
Really good to meet you. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Criminal Connection podcast. The Lost Soldier has found himself only on the Criminal Connection. We had a great chat. What an amazing story. Make sure you don't try any of this at home. And make sure you tune in again next week, because we've got another amazing guest. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you comment down below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. We'll see you on the other side.